Welcome back. That was definitely a very informative interview with Ken and May for me. I'm definitely going to be getting in touch with her. I'm now here with Helen Murphy, who is a part-time blogger, and we're going to go in that in a minute. But she's a part-time blogger. Tell us all about it. Just go back to the beginning. How you become a blogger, because you're actually a secondary school teacher.
I am actually.
Very different choice and careers there.
Absolutely. I suppose I would describe myself as an accidental blogger.
Okay.
I started out effectively about 4 years ago, when my youngest daughter at the time was only 3, and I had 4 children at home under the age of 5, and I was quite housebound, and I'm not originally from Douglas, so I didn't know a huge amount of people in the estate that I was living in. So I turned to Facebook and I reconnected with an awful lot of old friends, but there was a very good friend of mine who was actually teaching in Carrigaline, and she'd call in every day on her way home from school. And Niamh, unfortunately, still my best friend, but unfortunately due to the economic downturn, she had to move to Dubai. But before she left, her going away present she was like, my maiden name is Quealy, and she was like, Quealy, I'm after setting up a page for you. And I kind of went, what? And she kind of goes, you need something to do.
Yeah.
And she goes, I've called it Daily Diva Diary. And I just went, I am here at home with 4 kids, covered by nappies and what comes with nappies. I'm not a diva. And she kind of goes, well, work on it. So it was a creative outlet, and it stayed that way for a few months. And I've always loved fashion. It's been a throwback to my 20s, when I had a bit of a problem with eating and diet in my 20s, and it wasn't the most positive time in my life, so I turned to clothes almost as a type of an armour. And I soon found that when I dressed myself not according to what was in fashion, but what I felt good in and comfortable in, I automatically took on a more confident persona, and clothes have always been my armour since then, and Niamh knows that. So she said, you know,
later for setting it up, so it might not have happened.
No, it wouldn't. I procrastinate. I tend to procrastinate. I need the branding that we were talking about earlier. But no, Niamh set it up for me, and it kind of snowballed from there. But what really happened then was, it was just kind of tipping along, nothing serious. And I went to the Galway races with one of my best friends a few years ago. It was my first time ever at a ladies' day, and as I said, I won it, and it was just sheer shock.
And the stakes are high there.
The stakes are high.
The fashion there is just,
it was incredible. I remember turning the corner, and I had been up the night before after 2 glasses of wine in my neighbour's house, sewing a broken brooch onto my hat, because I got this notion I wanted the hat to look a certain way, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And then I came in after 2 glasses of wine in Mary's house next door, and I said, oh, do you know what, where's that Dunn's brooch? It did look lovely on the hat. So I got it out and I sewed it on. And I always think afterwards what Ernest Hemingway said. He always said, you know, that you should write drunk and edit sober, and I think I did the sartorial equivalent to that night. Yeah, don't ever drunk text. But so I did that night and went up to Galway. It was very random. Went up to Galway and ended up winning there, and it snowballed from there. I was saying to you, people began messaging me on my own page, because that's how they knew me. They knew me as Helen Murphy or Helen Quealy Murphy. And then I started pushing Daily Diva Diary to the fore from there. But as I said, I'm a mom first and foremost, and my professional job is as a secondary school teacher, so they always take priority. But the page started getting busier. Like it hasn't snowballed, it's never gone viral, but it has slowly and steadily.
You were saying compared to a year or 2 ago, you
have
how many more followers?
It was incredible. It was just, I saw there was a 2-year, you know, with Facebook, the memory thing.
And
I had my memory thing popped up, and it was like 1,000 followers. And I remember being thrilled I'd reached 1,000 followers, and now I'm on the verge of about 50,000 with a weekly reach of about 350,000 people. So
which is a very high number.
A huge jump for something that I haven't really been pushing. So to that end, as I said, the page has been getting busier and busier in the last year. So I finally took a small decision, and I took job sharing.
Yeah, you said you cut down a bit. So this is what often interests me when it comes to blogging. I've always considered it, but I hear of these stories where people are literally just completely committed to it on their phone 24/7. It's quite isolated as well, because you can be on your own for a lot of it on your computer, and that's put me off. But you do it part-time as well as your job as being a mum, so there obviously must be a balance somewhere that you find.
Talk to my husband, he might not agree with you. But, where I try and balance it is I try to keep it as organic, as natural as possible. And I said I fit it in when I can, and if that is, if I'm up in the morning, Thursday's my day off from work, and so I try and devote as much time to the blog as I can then in those 5 or 6 hours when the kids are at school. And I have an amazing childminder. Sandra is fantastic. She's in for the other 4 days when the kids need to be picked up. So to be fair, if I need an extra hour here or there, Sandra comes to my rescue. She's absolutely fantastic, and Eamon is an incredibly patient husband as well. But as I said, I want to try and find a niche. And I said, look, I'm a very ordinary Irish woman living at home, and that's kind of where it came from. I'm limited in where I can go, where I can visit. So I said, right, I'm going to start with the boutiques here in Douglas, and when I go home to Clare, I'm going to try and visit the boutiques in Clare. So that's essentially how it happened, that I got this notion. I wanted to support the local boutiques. I wanted to support the boutiques at home when I was there, because they're just all ordinary local ladies trying to make a bob or two.
Absolutely.
And my growing following meant that they suddenly had a bit of a platform.
Yes.
And it's benefited them, I'd like to think. And it's kind of, as I said, it means I can turn to them too when I need a little bit of advice or I need a little bit of help. And it's, for a person who's come into a community as well, it's been a great way for me to get a foothold, say in Douglas or in Cork as well, because I didn't know that many people beforehand.
West Clare.
I'm from West Clare.
But you're living here 20 years
I am.
now, so
I would
consider you a Corkonian, but you're saying
well, I said only living in Douglas about 8 years, and a lot of that was knee deep in nappies. But
I mean, on this show we would have we've had local boutiques on showcasing them, and it is, I mean,
it's tough.
So many of them that have to close because they're just not making profit because of, you know, high street brands. Obviously we all buy in the high street, we can't say that we never do, but it's definitely, I think social media is absolutely amazing for these little boutiques.
It is,
because like that you might not have never met anyone in any of the boutiques from back home if it wasn't for your page.
Yeah, exactly. And as I said, I've kind of made online friendships with people here in Cork and in counties around Ireland at this stage. And as I said, it's actually so lovely then when you get to meet the person behind the page. And by and large, 99 times out of 100, you know, the person is as lovely as they appear to be online. And as I said, I try to push, you know, the whole notion of, you know, shop local, buy local where I can, because as I said, it's a line that I use the whole time that, you know, if in time when you're looking for support for a local project or a local community project, you're not going to be able to turn to ASOS or to Amazon and say, hey there, go on, will you give us an spot price? You know, whereas or they're not going to be given your kids part-time jobs in 15 years time. You know, as I said, it's these jobs, they're the life force, the lifeblood of our community, and that's what really should be that's what we should try and promote. And I suppose
timing as well. I think
timing as well, absolutely.
It really is. And at the moment, people are very interested in where their food is coming from, where their clothes is coming from, but the long-term effects they have on the planet and all that. So it kind of all ties in together, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really, really does. And I think maybe why people kind of identify with my page a little bit as well is that it's very ordinary and it's very accessible, because if I like something, I'll write about it. If I don't like something, I tend not to write about it so much unless I think the consumer has been totally ripped off.
We had a chat about this earlier. You know, it's hard. You saying you don't want to be negative, but it's hard to be honest. Sometimes they're putting a little bit of negativity in there, so you try to.
I just try to balance it, or I try to, I suppose. Well, no, not neutral so much. If I really like something, people will hear about it. I mean, I was down in Goleen over the summer for a little while down in West Cork, and of all the random things to write about on a Maria fashion blog, I ended up writing about dairy cream, like cream from a place called, what was the name of the dairies again? I can't even think of the name, which is awful. But I'll link it here later on.
So the blog can be about anything?
The blog can actually be about anything. I was at a friend's house having an apple tart, and I was like, yeah, the tart is great, but like, oh my God, where did you get this cream from? It was incredible, and it just knocks all the other generic brands into a cocktail.
But it's great that you're actually blogging about what you love, and you haven't gone down the route which so many bloggers have of blogging about brands that they don't believe in just to get paid. And it was interesting because Maeve said a while ago to Ken, the first thing I would say to you is you can't rebrand yourself. You know, you are your brand, so it's good that you stay true to that.
No, I try to stay true to it as far as I can, and I said I have turned down some offers that would be lucrative. And Eamon has popped up once or twice here tonight, and he's like, "Why did you say no to that?" And I was like, "I can't. I don't like it." I just try to blog about, for example, again, there is an oil I started using there during the summer, and it's called Modern Botany, and it's created by two men who live down in Skull, and they're qualified botanists, but it's incredible. And what I couldn't believe was the feedback I got. I was like, okay, I'm going to blog about this, and I was like, I might limp to 100 comments or 100 likes, and I was like, oh, no, it won't be great. It took off, and the amount of women who'd actually been using it and were able to kind of share their own experiences then on my page about the product. It's great. And the company got in touch and said, look, we're overwhelmed. We're actually cannot believe the response to your post. And like, as I said, we've got a spike in whatchamacallit, in orders.
Okay.
So like I said, things like that, it benefits. It's almost like a community. It's not just me driving it, it's the people who interact with me and people who interact with me on my page. As I said, we're just ordinary people like myself. I mean, online advertising on Facebook and things, it's so much cheaper than the normal marketing plans that companies will have. And
I just find so many people now are popping up becoming bloggers. Like for a while it was kind of just a thing everyone does, but people are actually doing it now and making
money
serious
out of
living
it.
out of it.
Yeah, you can.
You're obviously not doing it full time, but would it ever be in the cards to go full time? I mean, obviously the bigger commitment, and you have a full time job, but like, is the lifestyle as glamorous as it sounds? Is the work? I mean, do you know what I mean?
I'm just glad
would there be more reasons to go full time than there would be to stay?
When you say it's glamorous, if you watch my Snapchat from this evening, I was in town and I was tearing all over town. I had to go back out to Douglas because I was dropping the kids to a camogie match, and I got into the car and I was actually breathless when I got into the car to come here, and I was like, okay, this child number 3 is dropped off, picked up. I was like, oh my God, is it worth it? But it kind of is, because I get such a buzz out of it.
I mean,
it's very easy to lose sight of who you are, which I did enough of that in my 20s. I obsessed enough about appearance and worried about what other people thought in my 20s to be at the stage now in my life where I want to do what I can do. I don't want to have to make any apologies about doing it to other people. And if it ends up benefiting other businesses while I'm doing it, and I'm engaging a group of women who feel they can engage with me, who might be in the same place as I was 4 or 5 years ago, where they felt a bit isolated. It's great that I can engage with them and we can engage together in kind of a daily Diva Diary community.
That's a great way to be, because I mean, particularly with social media pressure and comparing ourselves to other people's lives, we can, particularly younger. Like, I wouldn't be a teenager now for the love of money, because I just think literally from Facebook and Instagram comparing to other lives, it's great obviously to be at a place where you can just say, look, this is who I am, and this is who I am. I was laughing when we had a chat earlier. You were saying that all my pictures on my page are selfies because I can't get the kids at home to take a decent picture.
Or Eamon won't take them. Or as I said, it's just me angling in the mirror there. Or as I said, they're so used to seeing me, it's actually their reactions are sometimes so funny. When they meet me in person, they're like, oh my God, you're so different, or you're way nicer in the flesh. Like, you know, you should put on makeup more often, you know, because I literally be on camera, as I said, as you find me at 9 o'clock in the morning or whatever.
So
it's fairly real.
That's why people love it.
No, that's why I enjoy it. I enjoy the interaction. I said some people can be cruel, and some people can have very negative comments. I mean, Ken was chatting about it earlier on with me about, you know, negative commentators online. Keyboard warriors. They can be terribly negative, but the thing is, I try not, I don't engage with them, but I kind of file it away and I address it then later on in the blog post. But I actually do not like engaging with them one-on-one.
Would you block those people then, or would you just leave them to it?
It might sound awful by and large. I don't block them immediately. I don't feed them. I don't react to them immediately. But I leave it maybe a week or two, and I'll mull over it, and I'll make sure I throw off a blog post then addressing maybe something that was brought up. And if I think they've seen it, and if they're still trolling away, they've kind of gotten their second chance. And if they're still trolling away after that, then forget about it. They're gone, you know.
Because there is that argument of there's so much bad from social media and bullying and all that. But there is the other side of it then.
There is the other side.
Where there is so much good in it. Like you just said there, you know, obviously you're at an age where you're very comfortable in yourself to be able to promote yourself online, help businesses along the way. You know, obviously it makes you a happier person in the long run. And it's great to be able to chat to people with that, because more often than not we talk to people who are, you know, slamming all the, because a lot of stuff in the media at the moment about bullying. It was great with Maeve on earlier about how the social media's helped her create a business. A business,
and how proud her children are of her as well. It's you know, there is so much good in social media, and as I said, it makes the world, like before it used to be about 7 degrees of separation, now really it's 1 or 2 degrees of separation, and it can be negative sometimes, but by and large it's a power for the good, because so much good can be done. And I've met some fantastic people. I mean, I was saying to you last night, you said, have I been to any nice things recently? And like there is a glamorous side to it, and it's fun to go to these things, and it is lovely to get dressed up, don't get me wrong. It's really, really nice. But last night I was at one of the best things I was at in a long time, and it was David Babington. It was Material Boy. He's a very well-known blogger, and I've worked with David a lot. And Brenda, actually, she emceed, she kind of presented the show for him last night, and it was called In Bed with Material Boy. And David, he said, I could just do another fashion oriented thing, he said, but you know what, he wanted to speak more meaningfully about mental health and how he overcame his mental health problems. And but for social media, David wouldn't have the platform. I wouldn't know him. I'm currently in talks, say, with the management at school to get David in to talk to some of our senior students. And as I said, it's just even opening up the dialogue about mental health. And the fact that David can do that is really down to the power of social media. And as I said, I've gotten to know him through social media. So as I said, that in itself right there is an example of how good it can be.
Absolutely. And there's so so many bloggers, excuse me, my voice is croaked. There's so many bloggers just simply blogging on mental health and their own experience and the resources that you'll find online.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
that might not have been there. Now, and obviously we're a country that we're catching up with the mental illness and how it affects people. But you'd often just put it into Google and you'll find so many people who've written books, have blogs, celebrities, people that you would never have thought would have experienced it, who, like you just said, all have a platform now to speak about it. So.
And I said that's what's like, it's vitally important that the dialogue is opened up and that it becomes as normal. If you have, like, I mean, I had to go for counselling myself in my 20s, and there was a stigma attached to it then, and that was only 20 years ago. But the point, the point is, like, I mean, and this is what I say sometimes to some people who talk to me at school, I might kind of say, look, it has to get to a point where if you break your leg, you're not going to go home and try and treat it yourself. You're going to go to the doctor, you're going to go to the hospital, you're going to go to the professionals. If there's a chemical imbalance, if there's something just not right, of course, the most natural thing you might think is, oh, I'll be able to fix this myself. But we have to start opening up the dialogue so it will become totally natural for people to think, okay, it's the exact same as having broken a limb. I need to go to see someone. I need to get this fixed because I need a professional. I can't do this myself. And they have to realise that there is absolutely no shame in doing that either.
We're at the stage now where luckily we can talk about it and it's okay. So I think maybe another few years before we get that stage. But I often laugh, if you came into work and said, I have really bad migraine, I have to go home. Fine off you go. You came in and said, I'm actually having a really bad day. I don't feel together today. They'd probably make you go to work. Like the last thing they do is say, off you go and send home.
Absolutely. Like I suppose I wouldn't like to see it casualised either, you know what I mean, because it can be such a serious topic. But I mean, definitely there's some days where some people are at rock bottom, but yet they still have to drag themselves, maybe go through the motions, go into work, and I said that's when they need the help.
And you're right place, you're in a secondary school. So you're in the right place to be able to talk about this. I mean, there's absolutely, I have no doubt there'll be students who will completely avail of you. And sorry, who was the man that you said earlier meeting? Oh,
David Babington. As I said, but we have a fantastic, like in all secondary schools, like, I mean, there's always a fantastic pastoral care team, and there's qualified guidance counsellors. Now, unfortunately, the Department of Education cut the guidance counsellors' hours a couple of years ago, so there's less one-on-one interaction with pupils than there should be. But as I said, even in my school, speaking from personal experience, we've two incredible guidance counsellors, a fantastic pastoral care staff and a chaplain, and they work wonders. And like, we don't hear the half of it. We only hear about it sometimes when we need to hear about certain cases, and the procedures and everything that's put in place to help those kids. It's fantastic, and it's just great that the young lads can feel, especially young boys, that they feel they can go talk to people. Very, very often they don't want to talk. And what I found sometimes is great is sometimes doing it anonymously with the boys inside the classroom as well. Like, okay, if there's any question you want to ask, pop it into a box there and we'll deal with it in the appropriate class.
That's actually a great idea.
You know, and very often they're much braver when they're being anonymous than they are, if they do it face to face.
And tell me this, would a lot of your kids in school follow you on the blog? Or their parents, like, would you be meeting their parents at the school gates and they're saying, oh, I was reading your blog last night?
Sometimes the boys be like, oh, Miss, I saw you on telly or saw you in the paper, and I'd be like, no, that was my twin, or the boys get a kick out, but sure, it's like old news after a day or two. They get over the drama of it, and then they've moved on. They have no interest, but it's gas. Sometimes now the moms come in. There was a mom there a couple of years ago. I still remember her. She was very funny because it was only new enough. It was only after kind of kicking off, and I was at a parent-teacher meeting, and I was chatting away to her. And at the end of the meeting, she goes, "Oh, I've just one more question," and I was like, "Oh yeah, no bother, yeah." And I was kind of going, "God, what else can she ask about little Johnny?" And she kind of goes, that fake collar you had up there a couple of weeks ago, was that from Penny's or River Island? I'm
waiting for a big question this year.
I know, it was actually quite funny, so yeah, the parents kind of do pop in every now and again and ask me a question, or they do pop up in pages every now and again, Yeah,
because in school, if teachers are anyone different, you really stick out, I would love to have a teacher in school that I could have gone up to and chatted about fashion and bits and pieces, but it would be mad for me to think of when I was in school, of any of my teachers doing something like that. It just shows how much the times are changing.
Times are changing as well. And again, it's the power of social media. Like, as I said, pupils see us as people now as opposed to dictatorial creatures, I
don't think I was on friendly terms with any of my teachers. It would be a bit different now, because I was talking to someone recently. She was saying, "Oh, I found my teacher on Facebook." Like, well, I add him. No, she said, "But I see him every day in school. I need to add him." Because it was like a stranger adding you and then you're ignoring him on the street.
I know, it's kind of unusual.
What's been the highlight? Like, what's been something that's just, buried in your memory, something that you thought, God, if it wasn't for blogging, I wouldn't have done this, something you're really proud of being involved in?
God, that's a tough one. There's lots of highlights. And straight away, there's a couple, you know, I've won a few awards here and there. I've kind of won Best Blogger, Kerry Fashion Week, and I've won a couple of Best Dress competitions, and they are lovely. They're really nice, and as I said, in a very unusual way, because, and I can say this now, I would be quite outspoken on my own personal page that I wouldn't be a fan of, say, Donald Trump or his policies or anything like that. But one of the things I'm most proud of is weirdly linked to him. I was up at home there during the summer, and there's a hotel in West Clare, and this hotel, it's a huge big 5-star hotel owned now by Trump and his foundation. But about 4 years ago, it was probably going to close because it had gone into NAMA, and it would have resulted in a huge loss of jobs in the West Clare area. Trump came in, he bought it, and we're all a bit scathing. We're all like, Trump. And anyway, I was up there this summer, and I subsequently ran a competition for the hotel afterwards, after I was up there, and there was an incredible response. I mean, I almost had a reach of 950,000 on that one competition alone. People went mad for this particular competition, but it was the online engagement that got me the most. And like, people were like, oh yeah, I'd love to win this, or people were in private messaging me saying, I'd love to enter this, but I don't want to because Trump's name is associated with it. And bit of
a tender one.
Oh, it's a tender one. But I decided, you know what, and it's one thing I'm actually kind of proud of. I took a stand, and I said, I wasn't siding with Trump, but I was siding with the people of home and in West Clare. I was like going, but for this hotel, there would be, at peak season in West Clare, there would be 450 people in West Clare and in the surrounding areas, and the suppliers and the florists. They would be out of work, they would have to travel to Limerick, they'd have to travel to Galway, or worse still, go abroad looking for work. And I said, you know, I'm proud, I suppose, to push a competition or push a company that offers so much to my part of the world and where I'm from. So I'm actually, weirdly, and I suppose I need to clarify this, I don't like Trump, and I would never promote any of his policies or any of his political ideologies, but I was actually quite proud to be associated with that competition, and quite proud because an awful lot of the employees can't really speak out about their own personal thoughts on him. But I said I had the avenue to do it, and I was like going, well, you know, maybe they don't believe in his ideologies either, but at the end of the day, that hotel is putting bread on their table. It's keeping a vibrant part of West Clare alive, and I'm delighted with that because I'm from there.
That's where you're from.
And it's kind of pretty much, it's been part of the blog, part of what I push.
It's really nice to hear a positive story on Trump, really, because we really do. Honestly, I mean, my friends were at picnic at the weekend, and they said that there was so many people going around just in Trump masks, and I worked at a summer camp this summer, and all the kids were giving out about him. So it's actually really good to see that there's a positive.
Well, there's
I mean, that's
a little positive.
A little, but it's good for definitely the West Clare economy and the Irish economy.
Well, part of me wishes he'd stayed in hotels and not gone into politics.
Yeah, it would have been great.
We can't have it all.
You and the rest of the world.
I think so.
Just before we go, I just want you to give anyone who's considering setting up a blog just 1 or 2 tips. Because I know so many people who have great ideas on blogging, but they think it might be too hard, or they're not tech savvy like me, or they might think it might take over their life. But you've showed there that you can create somewhat of balance. Eamon might say different, but
Eamon might say differently.
But just a tip that you think might be helpful to them before we let you go.
You don't have to be tech savvy. Number one, I'm probably, and my friends would agree with this, I'm the least tech savvy. Dan, my youngest, threw my laptop down the stairs 3 years ago, and I still haven't replaced it. It didn't survive the fall. So I work off whatever phone I have to hand, and I'm threatening to buy a new iPhone very soon. But as you saw earlier on there, the one I'm working off of now regularly freezes, and you don't have to be tech savvy. Just don't be afraid. Okay. That's number one. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to write about what you really feel. Write about what you know. Write about what you think is right for you. Don't just write something because a shop has given you a freebie. Don't just write about something because you know there'll be a backhander down the line. If you like it, like say for example, I did a job for Swamp the other day, and I always thought Swamp's clothes were teeny boppery clothes, and now I'm a total convert to their jeans. So I fully intend doing a full blog on that very, very soon. But it's only because I've tried them on. You know, and there's no money exchanging hands with this. It's like I want to blog because their product is that good for a very good price tag. write about what you believe in. Don't be scared. Get out there, meet people, and I suppose try and make it a little bit personal if you can. It's funny, since I started on Snapchat, my following has really increased. And I was telling you the story. One woman said to me, she said, "You're a bit of a snot on Facebook," but she goes, "You're really nice on Snapchat."
So you're saying you're just there in your real form on Snapchat.
Yeah.
But thank you very much.
Not
I'm
a
going
bother.
to have Sloint there now
Absolutely.
to you.
There you go.
And I might have a chat with you afterwards about my own blog. Will you give me some tips?
You'd be fantastic.
So I'm going to give you back to Ken, who definitely has had the most fun job tonight, as you're going to see coming up.
Thank you. Cheers, girl.